Turns out we saw the future pretty well, you know. I mean, our bad guys wear red hats, so it's like, you know, pretty crazy. But yeah, I mean, you know, I said on the panel, the goal of the show is always to be thematically resonant, and whether that was with what's going on today or with just the sordid past of human history, you know, I think either one works. But we were never, you know, even now making season 3, we're not writing a commentary on politics, because I think that's a mistake and a pitfall, and if you do that, you end up dating the show in a way. But what we've tried to do is, if you build off of the center kind of hub of colonialization and occupation, that's a fact that most societies on Earth, either in their present or in their past, have dealt with. And what are the truth and consequences that come off of that, and the stories that you can explore. So like this year, we're going to do a whole refugee story that is going to resonate for people that are seeing all the the terrible things happen to the Syrian refugees. But that's that was a story in the Iraq War, the first war, and will continue to be, unfortunately, all across the world, all through human history. So the idea is that now the lovely thing about Battlestar is that I can pop that back in. It's what we're probably the 15th anniversary of that show, and it's still incredibly relevant to today because it's really good science fiction. And that show was written with the post 9/11 politics in mind, and that stuff still works. But now it's just good sci-fi, and that's what Colony at its best is aspiring for.
So tell us about some new characters in season 3, if you can.
Well, I mean, we have a lot of new stuff in season 3, new locations, new places, new stories, new characters, because the show is obviously, we relocated the show physically to Vancouver, so we're going to be producing it up there now, and I think we're going to own the fact that the show has changed locations, so that we're not trying to hide the fact that we're not in LA anymore. And I think the show is unique in the sense that it's not just happening in Los Angeles, it's happening all across the world, so it gives you the opportunity to expand out the story and show what's happening in other places, and how not all colonies are run the same, and there are a lot of places that look different. What's happening in the hinterlands and the kind of Mad Max zones outside beyond the colonies. But that will necessarily bring new characters into the show that I think people will really like. We're gonna go out and meet the resistance camp that we talked about a lot in season 2, so you'll meet the cast of colorful characters that is involved there. But it's fun because it's a way of we were given this license to really kind of refresh the show. I don't want to say reboot because it's still the Bowman family and everything, but you've taken them and you transplant them into this entirely new situation where all the rules could be totally different. They could be totally the same. They just don't know, and it's going to force them to really figure out who they are and what they believe.
With you filming Canada, I'm from Canada. Filming Canada, have to make reference to and then are you going to try and keep it more US?
Remains to be seen, I think, a little bit. It's always, for us, it's always just because it's from our point of view, the U.S. experience as both a colony at one point and then a colonizer at other points has been an interesting one. So I think that remains resonant with us. But I mean, we started telling stories in Switzerland last year, so there's as the show evolves, I think the fun of it is getting to see other places, not just in the U.S. but elsewhere.
You mentioned in the panel that giving the audience a bunch of little hints of things, and those have been really fascinating. Tiny little minutes. The NASA scene at the beginning of season 2, and the guy they found in the safe house who said he was part of the contingent that was supposed to rebuild the world. Do you think that the governments in the world are hiding secrets like that? Do you think that's where some of that could possibly come from? Or do you think that that's really a writer's imagination?
Well, we look for conspiracies and everything. I think it's human nature to try to take tragedy or chaos and try to put order to it. That's where conspiracy theories come from. Like, we can't imagine that, this great, young president, John F. Kennedy, was just assassinated by a lone wolf crazy person who had ties to Russia. So we have to invent this entire conspiracy theory around him. He was a patsy. The mafia killed him, and they put him up to it. There was a second gunman. So in this colony, much like the X-Files was, is based on those conspiracy theories, but I don't necessarily, as an individual, believe that those things are true, just because it takes. Governments are incompetent, and conspiracies take such incredible competence in order to not only pull it off but keep it a secret. And I just believe that those things, the two things, are in such juxtaposition to one another that it's a paradox. It can't be true. But that's just my theory. But of course, Colony is based on a conspiracy of humans conspiring against their own kind. So but that's the fun thing to tell me.